All right, Chuck Schumer, I talked about this earlier. Chuck Schumer is, as we have been calling him for a decade, schmucky. And you, his staffers, you're schmucky too. Schumer schemes to hit Republicans. That's the title of the Politico piece, the quasi-news operation. New York Senator Schmucky Schumer believes he's found a political weapon in the unlikeliest of places, the Violence Against Women Act. Now, ladies, I really want you to listen to this. I want you to listen how liberal Democrats are abusing you. This is very important. Republicans have several objections to the legislation, but instead of making changes, Schumer wants to fast-track the bill to the floor, let the GOP block it, then allow Democrats to accuse Republicans of waging a war against women. See, this is sleazeball stuff. I'm going to get to more specifics in a second. It goes on. It's fodder for a campaign ad, and it's not the only potential 30-second spot ready to spring from Senate leadership these days. From his perch as the Democrats' chief policy and messaging guru, Schumer wants to raise taxes on people who earn more than $1 million, and many Democrats want to push the vote for April 15, a move designed to amp up the income inequality rhetoric just in time for tax day. Schumer has a plan for painting Republicans as anti-immigrant as well. He's called the author of the Arizona immigration law to testify before his Judiciary Subcommittee, bringing Capitol Hill attention to an issue that's still front and center for Hispanic voters. So here we have an effort to divide Americans based on sex, based on ethnicity, and based on income. This is Schumer. He's the spokes idiot for the Democrats. None of these campaign-style attacks allow for the policy nuances or reasoning behind the GOP's opposition. Some of the bills stand no chance of becoming law, but that's not really the point, is it, folks? Boy. My brothers and sisters in New York, why do you keep sending these putzes to Congress? Honest to God. What use is Chuck Schumer? What good is he? Sits there scheming all the time? Now, what do I mean about his abusive tactics? Here's a piece that's going to appear at biggovernment.com, written by Dan Reel, and it'll be up either tonight or tomorrow. With an election coming up in November, rather than reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act with bipartisan support, as has been the case since it was first enacted in 1994, Senate Republican sources claim Democrats laced the bill with controversial new provisions intended to derail the legislation. This is what I mean by abusing women. The whole contraception argument was all political. Now they're going to take a legitimate law, the Violence Against Women Act, politicize it, put so many controversial, irrelevant amendments on it to force the Republicans to vote against it, and then run around and say Republicans are not for a law that opposes violence against women. This is how base this has become. And what about the law, Mr. Schumer? If you care about violence against women, why are you doing this, Mr. Schumer? The newly revised version of the law significantly increases spending in areas prone to fraud and abuse and lacks proper safeguards. It also increases the risk of visa abuses, leading to full citizenship through deception by illegal immigrants, and gives criminal jurisdiction over non-Indian individuals to Indian tribes, potentially stripping them of certain constitutional protections, having almost nothing, if nothing, to do with violence against women. So I ask all of you, and particularly you ladies out there, what do you think about this? With the economy remaining weak and Obama's poll numbers falling, some Republicans also believe the public battle is meant primarily as a distraction. Quote, that Republicans are somehow unresponsive to women suffering from domestic abuse is ridiculous, said one Senate aide. It's claimed the new additions were never agreed to by Republicans beforehand and have little to do with domestic violence. The Democrats' new version of the Violence with Women Act raises the number of U visas for immigrants who can aid in a criminal investigation from 10,000 to 15,000 annually. In other words, these poison pills, these amendments, are specifically and purposely thrown onto this Violence Against Women Act to force its defeat, to create a political issue. Meanwhile, it's not renewed. So is Schumer standing with women who face domestic violence are standing against them. He's standing against them for political purposes, but he wants you to think he's standing with them. Amazing. An immigrant may stay in the U.S. for 4 years under a U visa. However, the system is open to exploitation. A recipient may apply for an adjustment of status after 3 years and become a legal permanent resident. They're also available to immigrants awaiting deportation. Democrats refuse to support provisions to improve the system by limiting the possibilities for exploitation. Why does the Democrat Party stand foursquare for fraud? Whether it's voting fraud, whether it's immigration fraud, I mean, I know the answer, but have you noticed? They don't want to tighten up any of these rules. They want people who do not have photo IDs voting. They want people who overstay their visas staying. And then they want to liberalize these laws even further, like the U visa that we just talked about, by attaching it as a poison pill to efforts to renew the Violence Against Women Act. And the moron reporters who are not reporters, they're regurgitators, are going to take what Schumer does. They know exactly what he's up to and why he's doing it, and they're going to regurgitate it. Why? Because they're on his side. That's why. They're on his side. Democrats have also claimed that Republicans oppose their version of the bill because it protects certain groups. But all victims are already protected under the Violence Against Women Act, and grants to local governments and nonprofit groups are administered without question as to the sexual orientation of the victims. So they want to raise the gay issue now, the gay and lesbian issue. This is diabolical. It's not genius politically, ladies and gentlemen. It's diabolical. Chuck Schumer is diabolical. Now there's more, and when we return, I want to finish it. So now the Violence Against Women Act is a political wedge issue. This thing would fly through Congress, fly through the Senate. It's up for renewal. It's been renewed every time. But Schumer, the head of propaganda, the chief propagandist for the Senate Democrats, he's putting all these poison pills in this bill that have almost nothing to do with it, and in many cases, absolutely nothing to do with it, to try and get it killed. And then run around, oh, Republicans are for violence against women. I mean, this is... You have to be really mentally off. Really, you have to be unbalanced to come up with stuff like this, don't you? Meanwhile, women who suffer from domestic violence, how are they protected from Schumer's antics? I'll be right back.